Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. On today's video is all about mixing lead vocal. Under my community I asked what video would you like to see next, and most people chose mixing lead vocal. So this is it guys. This is a cover song from Ryan Morgan. Ryan is a very talented singer and a producer. You must have heard me or seen me mixing some of his songs in the past on this channel. So I'll post his link on the description. Please go show him some love as usual. So without further ado, let's get into the video. This is what it sounds like, then I'll dive right straight to the lead vocal.
Hey, yeah, yeah, oh, oh, oh yeah. You pillow talk to me about the man who tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak. No, you don't give it up so easy, babe. But you wanted my attention. Yeah, you wanted my affection.
So as you've heard that, I'll solo the lead vocal quickly and I'll show you guys what I did to it. So first thing I got here is an EQ, just rolling off 110 and a bit of a deep, taking off some room tone, which I felt. So I think the best thing actually would be to mute all this so you guys can actually hear what we treated, and I'll show you guys why and what I was using or why I'm using it.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh, oh yeah. You pillow talk to me about the man who tried to get between.
So as you can hear there, you will hear a bit of a room tone and some bleed, which is normal for a recorded vocal. So the first thing I put is an EQ, getting rid of some of the lows and some of the room tone. So let me just pull this up so you can see what it sounds like.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh, oh yeah.
As you can hear, that's the room tone I was trying to get rid of. So I took about 3 dB off that, and the same on 340. There's a bit of a build up as well there, which I felt like needed taking out. Then there's some harsh frequency and kind of a bell whistle, which I took off here on 4550 and on 2450. I'm just gonna lift that so you can hear exactly what it sounds like, so that when you are mixing your lead vocal, you know what to listen for. Have a listen to this particular frequency.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh, oh yeah.
As you can hear, that sounds more like a little bell or whistle. So the same thing, I took 7 dB out. There's another one here.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh.
So I took that out again, about 7 dB or 6 dB. So basically, on a typical lead vocal, you need to always be careful of 2K to 3, 4K, because human ears is more sensitive to that mid frequency, usually 2K, 3K. So anything that's harsh there will always fatigue the listener. So that's why I tackled there. So the next thing is just a general leveling with a compressor. This is an LA2A. So let's see what that's doing. I usually aim for about 5 dB gain reduction.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh, oh yeah.
Even though that brought up the level a bit, but you notice also that it actually gave the vocal a bit more body, because this is emulating a tube compressor. So after these two, I then send it to this bus, which I named lead vox, because I also put this into it. Otherwise, I'll be putting the whole thing here if that was just one lead vocal. So I hope you understand that. So the next thing on the channel is a distressor from a UAD. This is trying to squeeze a bit more of the dynamics. So let's have a listen to that on.
Hey, yeah, 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 oh, oh, oh yeah. You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between.
As you can see, this is just getting about 3 dB, 4 dB max, and I'm using 4:1 ratio. It's slightly fast release and medium attack. So that takes me into an EQ, which is the BX Focusrite console. So I've turned off the compressor, the gate. I'm using a bit of the low pass filter. I've set this as 18 kilohertz just to get rid of the higher top end. And I've also high passed a bit more, even though the EQ here is doing a bit of high pass as well. So on that high frequency, I've boosted 5 dB at 15 kilohertz. And also on the mid frequency, I've got a deep 1 dB at about 3K. I've also got 1 dB deep at about 120 hertz. But then if you look at 270 hertz, I'm actually doing a low shelf deep in 5 dB. So this is basically so that everything on that low will not sit on top of the kick and bass, so that kick and bass will sit up front. So let's have a listen with that on.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak.
Obviously, the vocal is sounding a bit thin also now, but we still got other things that we need to add to this channel. So next thing is our compressor. It's just to push this a bit up front. And if you notice also, due to the bleed, I've also pulled the gate up so that it sort of helps, keep the mids where there's no vocal coming in a bit cleaner. Because this is obviously me trying to be a bit lazy. If not, I would have gone in and just cut them off. But due to time frame, I just went for this. So if you've got time, it's always better to just trim off the silence.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
That's just a small thing. So the next thing here is fresh air. This is actually a free plugin from Slate Digital. So I'm pulling the high by 15 and the mid air by 10. This is fresh air.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
As you can see, it's making the vocals sound very expensive now, just putting this on. Then I tackle it with the sibilance from Waves, just to get rid of some harsh frequency that the fresh air introduced.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
Just about minus 4.9, minus 5 at highest places. So after that, we're now going into a reverb. Reverb is the next one. If I go on the mix, I'll show you guys what I got here for the reverb. Is a TSA reverb from Softtube, and I'm using 1.73 on the reverb time. I put a pre-delay of 22. So let's listen to that. I've also got an EQ actually rolling off the low and a bit of the high on that. If you notice, obviously, Softtube, I've started adding this feature whereby you've also got some stuffs to watch your meter, and also you've got a high pass if you want it. But at the minute, I just went for the EQ, just for information.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
As you can see, the decay time is not that much, so I sort of halved it. So I'm using half note decay time so that the tail doesn't tail off too much before the next phrase come in. So I've got a video there about how to calculate reverb time, but if you have a question about calculating reverb time, leave me a comment and I'll try to explain a bit further. So the next on the chain is a delay. So let's have a listen to what this delay is doing. It's 8 note, but I put it dotted, and I've also made it ping pong, but I had it very low so that you could barely hear it, but it's still there, it's just floating. And I've also used this doubler to sort of spread it even further.
You pillow talk to me about the man that tried to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
So you notice that bit of movement that is adding. So the next one on the line is Dim D. This is basically Dimension D emulation, and this plugin was actually given free a couple of weeks ago by Overloud, but now I think the offer is finished because I did a video on it on the channel as well. So I'm just gonna solo this so you can hear what this is actually doing to the vocal, just that. Obviously, I've also got an EQ rolling off the lows on it, and I've also put a compressor to sort of, hold it in place so it's not jumping up and down too much.
Talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak. No, you don't give it up so easy, babe. But you wanted my attention.
So there you go. That's what the Dimension D is adding. Let's have a listen to that in context.
You pillar talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry.
So the next on the line is the parallel vocal that I've got. Obviously, a pop vocal like this, you need a parallel vocal to help the vocal cut through even further. Let's see what we've got, which is Pulsar Smasher. That's followed by an EQ filtering the low at 190 and a bit of deep at 320. Then that's followed by an EQ and boosting the high end by 5 dB. And then that's followed by the ESA, because this is a parallel. I need to feed it through, and because it's way compressed, you don't want those S's to come out at all. So let's listen to that.
You pillar talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak. No, you don't give it up so easy, babe. But you are.
So as you can hear, that's sounding even somehow too saturated, but feeding it just by minus 17 underneath the main vocal helps it push out through. So the next on the line is this last delay, which is a quarter note. And if you notice, I've also put the doubler to throw it off to the side so it's not falling right in the middle. But one thing I've also done here is sidechained this compressor underneath it to bus 10, and bus 10 is basically the lead vocal going out but with no output. So I'm just using it to trigger this. So what it's doing is when the vocal is on, it compresses this delay, and the delay only jumps out when the vocal stops singing. Let's just have a listen to that.
Talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak.
So as you can hear, when the vocal is on, the delay is barely heard, but once the vocal stops, it jumps out. So let's listen to it in context.
You pillar talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak.
So that's basically what that's doing. So all of them in the song again. Let's have a listen.
Oh yeah. You pillar talk to me about the men that try to get between. They buy you bags and jewelry. They think your kindness is so weak. No, you don't give it up so easy, babe. But you wanted my attention. Yeah, you wanted my affection.
So there you go, guys. I hope this video was informative. If that's the case, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any question about this video or other videos on the channel, leave me a comment. I would like to hear it. Thanks. Bye now.